everyone, and welcome back to Safety First, giving you daily tips for your safety. So it's me again, Katie Guillermo over here, and today I am giving out tips on how to use a hacksaw and a file properly. So let's go!
Let's first look into the hacksaw. This right here is what we call a hacksaw. It is a handy hand-powered small-tooth saw used for cutting metal pipes, rods, brackets, and plastics. It is usually used by plumbers to cut pipes and is also occasionally used by electricians to cut conduits. This is called a D-handle, tensioner knob, blade tensioner, blade pins, blade, and lastly, frame.
So how do you properly and safely use a hacksaw? First, be sure that the blade is tightened and tensioned. When you're gonna install a blade, turn the adjuster and the handle or frame until there is slack and the holes at each end of the blade can be inserted into the spigots. Make sure that the teeth are pointed away from the handle. Then tighten the adjuster afterwards. Firmly place the material, which in this case we will be using a metal pipe into a vise to keep it in place and not move while you're cutting it later. Mark the pipe where you want to cut it so you'll have your desired length. Line up the saw's central teeth with the mark. And push the saw in a short stroke to start the cut. Then draw the saw back and forth on the mark to continue the cut. Make sure that the end of the object that is being cut is held and will not crack due to unsupported weight.
Now, how do you maintain a hacksaw? Actually, a hacksaw isn't high maintenance. You just have to change the blade every once in a while. Hacksaw blades are available at most hardware stores when it's time for them to get replaced. Make sure you select the appropriate blade as indicated by the number of teeth per inch. Keep in mind to not use a thinner coping saw blade in a hacksaw. Now let's move on to the file. Now, a hand file is essentially a handsaw with a very wide blade and is made from a bar of high carbon steel. Just like a saw, it cuts material using its teeth. It is used to cut, trim, or finish a job of metal or wood, in order to give them a shape according to our needs, such as making the job round, square, or angular. After chipping a job of metal, it generally becomes rough, and a file is used to make it smooth. Plus, they are also used for sharpening the edge of some other cutting tools. Now let's look at the parts of a hand file. Here is what we call the handle, tang, heel, face, edge, and tip or point. A wooden handle is fitted on its tang. Teeth are cut on its face and edge so that it can perform the job of cutting. The part of having no teeth is called a heel. The thick side of this file is called the edge, and its lower end is known as tip or point.
Now let's move on to how you use a file properly. So in order to get the proper surface through filing, you need to hold the handle of the file with your right hand or whichever is your dominant hand. But in this case, let's say that it's the right one. And keep the end of the file balanced with your left hand. When you're already filing, it is advised to put your left leg ahead then your right leg a little behind to give you more balance when you're applying pressure. So now, exert pressure on the file while moving it ahead and not while driving it back. Most people who haven't been trained on how to use a file will do it in a back and forth motion. This is both inefficient and potentially damaging to the file. The correct technique is to push the file forward to make a cut, then lift the file off the workpiece when the file is drawn back. So with that, the only time that the file comes in contact with the workpiece is on a forward stroke. Only your hand should move with the file and not your entire body. As far as possible, keep the rest of your body still. The speed of moving the file should only be at a rate of 30 to 35 strokes per minute.
And the last important point to take note of is how to clean and maintain a file. Like any tool, a file needs to be cleaned before, after, and sometimes during use because pieces of cut material fill in between the teeth of the file. To clean a file, use compressed air, rags, or a file brush to prevent material to build up. And one way to prolong the life of a file is to use a lubricant while cutting material.
And that's all for today, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time!